Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast, Reconstruction, Deconstruction. I kind of condensed the name a little bit on the YouTube videos and called it De-Reconstruction. De-Reconstruction. Yeah, so that kind of like condenses a little bit so the name is not so long. I think we need some sort of like intro type thing that we do like each time. So we'll try and figure that out, try to make the beginning a little more flowy. But anyway, I'm Gravity, and I'm here with my friend Epic Kate. Say hi, Kate.
Hi.
Hi. Well, that could be a thing. I could tell you to say hi. But today's going to be a little bit lighter of an episode. Me and Kate are going to be talking about like growing up in the 90s. For Kate, I think it was probably more of the 90s. And for me, it was more, I remember some of the 90s and mostly the early 2000s for me. But there's kind of a blur in the middle of there. So before we get into that, though, I do have news, and a lot of it's kind of funny, just kind of lighthearted news that I saw over the week that I thought was cool. And then I have a kind of a bigger announcement for myself. Before I get into that, or while I'm pulling that up, Kate, do you have any news or anything that you wanted to address as well?
Like some kind of funny stuff in the news that I found out about was that when somebody was talking about Alexandria Ortiz, what's her name?
Alexandria Cortez. I'm just making up a name. I don't even know if that's a person.
She's a very outspoken person on Twitter. She was talking about somebody who's just been like a really big jerk, who's been like the kind of Christian that makes Christians look bad.
Yes.
And the initials for her name are the same as people who play as Magic the Gathering. Marjorie Taylor Greene, I think, MTG. So there was some confusion there of, wait, is she talking about Magic the Gathering players? Like, no, she's talking about this lady. If that doesn't make any sense, you can just cut this part out.
No, I get it. So there was somebody who did something that made Christians look bad, and her name sounded like something from the game Magic the Gathering. So they didn't know if they were talking about that person or Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, this lady, Marjorie Taylor Greene, was like just being a jerk to Alexandria, just like lifting up her letterbox and like, come on out, stop being a baby, take off your diaper, Americans deserve to hear from you, you always lock your door, what do you? And she was like, oh, this video just makes you want to punch her in the face.
I hate the fact that everyone thinks everybody, like the internet's where you share your opinion. If you're not sharing your opinion, that means you disagree with the people that we primarily agree with. Something like that. Yeah. All right. So I was looking at my news things that I saved the links for, and only one of the links for my news thingies have actually shown up. It's showing that the other links are broken for some reason, and I'm a little upset about that. But the one of them showed up, and it's the good one. Did you hear about the guy who was very badly injured, like badly injured, like in a full body cast, badly injured, and was not supposed to recover, but his friend came up to him and said, hey, if you make a full recovery, you can kick me in the balls. And the doctors and the physical like therapists were all like for it. And so he ends up making this miraculous recovery. And there's videos on this. You should definitely go look it up. He ends up making this miraculous recovery, and there's like this documentary style like progression of his progress, and it has like his physical therapist like training him to specifically be able to kick better so that he's able to go home and kick his friends in the balls for recovering.
And then he put his friend into a full body cast.
I don't know if you can go into a full body cast by being kicked in the balls, but if it does, it's a pretty hard kick.
All right. Never had any children.
All right, and that was like one of the funny news. My other news is apparently their links got corrupted or something. I don't know. I wasn't able to pull up the news. One was about a lobster that got saved by some employees at a Red Lobster, because apparently it was actually a really rare like calico lobster, and it looked really cool, and the employees were like, we can't kill this lobster and feed it to somebody. This lobster looks too cool. And it ended up actually being a very rare lobster, and apparently is chilling out in a museum now. So I thought that was a pretty funny story. All right, and let's hope this link is not broken. All right, it is not. Okay. Oh, darn it. What was the church that set this up? I don't remember, but there is a event that I'm going to, or I'm planning on going to in October on the 10th and the 11th, and it is called Unlikely. And it's called Unlikely Allies Building Flourishing Communities. I want to do justice to talking about this, but basically there is a, let me find his name. Why do I have all this information pulled up, but not the guy's name? But anyway, what the event is an event to build bridges between the Christian, evangelical Christian and Muslim community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
you can just put the name in the description.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Like when we raise our hand, that means that we can say something.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I didn't see your hand raised because I had a different tab pulled up. I'm sorry. But yes, I can put that in the description. But I am going to read what this event is about, and I'll also put a link into the description to this website about this event. It says the Global Faith Forum is the gathering of unlikely allies that venture down an unlikely path in order to build flourishing communities. The Global Faith Forum takes us from having a conversation about others to having a conversation with others. We are living in a time of polarization and fear, like few times in America and global history. The fear between the faiths should not be something that causes us to destroy one another and the world in which we live, but to understand one another so we can move forward building flourishing communities together. As a longtime champion of building bridges between different religions, not many have worked to cross divides in the world more than this is one of the speakers that's going to be at the event. Let's see if I pronounce his name correctly. I'm sorry, Dr. Muhammad Al-Isa. I hope I pronounced that correctly. For acknowledging the Holocaust, to reaching out to different faiths and ideas. This has led to the culmination of his writing of the Mecca Declaration in 2019. Sunday night of the conference, a historic event will take place in Dallas-Fort Worth as Dr. Al-Isa will read the Mecca Declaration and others will respond. It will be the first ever national public gathering of evangelicals and Muslims. The next day, we will hear from the other top religious leaders, including pastors, rabbis, and I'm not sure what this is, imams, on how we build bridges together. So I am really excited to attend this because I really, really want to know more about more cultures, and especially Islam, because I have neighbors who are Muslim, and I have no idea how to be a good neighbor to them other than just kind of like be standoffish. And I would love to know more about them, but I guess an awkward encounter. Like, how do I just walk up to someone and say, hey, so tell me about your culture and everything you stand for, I guess, and not defined by the fear media.
Muslims are very sociable. They have a very sociable culture. So in some parts of the US, it is a good neighbor to be standoffish. But to the many Muslims that are over here in Sweden, that's not the way to be a good neighbor. That's cold and distant and lonely.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that just goes along with just the different cultures, like social cultures in general, like all around the world. Like everybody, like people are like distant, like not distant, different. But I would love to go to this event and actually be able to talk and interact and actually ask some questions to like some actual like Muslim people and not just be like, I read this in a book. Is this right? I don't know. And it also just comes with the typical everyday social anxiety of just going up to a person as well. That will help alleviate that. All right. So that is all of my news. So, and how old are you again? So we know which part of the 90s we're talking about.
I'm 34.
You're 34. So I'm bad at math.
Turning 35 next month.
Oh, okay. Wait, next month is June.
Yeah.
What day in June?
The 28th.
28th. Okay, on the 6th. Oh, I have one more little piece of news. I was at my church last Sunday, the one I just started going to. So it's a new church. And I met, and okay, I'm going to have to reveal my real name. You guys already know it. I just like being called Gravity on my channel. So my real name is Sarah, and you know that. I was at my church and I met another individual named Sarah, and we were talking, and I also asked her when her birthday was, and it turns out we had the same name and the same birthday. And I thought that was cool. All right, so that aside, now let's actually jump into the meat of the conversation, which is we are going to talk about today us growing up in like the 90s and like early 2000s, some of our favorite things during then or our childhood. We got like some the basic questions. Did you think of any other questions to ask other than the ones that I thought of that I sent you? Because I was pretty sure there was other ones.
I just like to go by the seat of my pants and just use questions that are there in case it gets like a lull.
That is very true. All right, so let's start with the main one. What was your favorite cartoon as a child?
I really enjoyed Rocko's Modern Life. But there are so many cartoons and so many shows. I grew up with a lot of TV.
Growing up, my parents really liked Rocko's Modern Life, and I watched it and was perfectly fine with it. But I did not grow an appreciation for Rocko's Modern Life until I became a little bit older.
Yeah.
So,
but like, oh goodness, there were so many. Arthur, Rugrats.
So I'm gonna hone in on the two of my like childhood. I'm talking maybe 5 to 10 years old. Okay. The two most important cartoons to me at that time, Rugrats and Spongebob SquarePants.
I loved Rugrats. My parents didn't actually want me to watch SpongeBob. I think they thought that I would get a bad attitude from it or something.
Oh my gosh, I don't know why. But the thing is that I never heard anyone getting a bad attitude from SpongeBob. I knew there were a lot of parents who were all like, I think SpongeBob's gay. I don't think I should let my children watch that. I've heard that, but I never heard getting a bad attitude from SpongeBob. I heard that there's a lot of parents who didn't want their kids watching Rugrats because they thought they would make them want to be like Angelica. So I heard that. But I have to tell you a little story about my fandom of SpongeBob. I must have been maybe 11 at the time, 10 or 11, one of those two, but right before the SpongeBob movie like came out. And I was like super into SpongeBob. I wanted SpongeBob bed sheets. I wanted all the SpongeBob plushies. I had like posters on my wall. I was a loser. And I even went into the Nickelodeon magazine and cut out like every single SpongeBob thing in that magazine, and I taped it on my wall. And I was really proud of my collection. But then there was one day where my dad and my older sister got into an argument about whether or not she should put a poster on her wall. And it was a poster of some like teen singer at the time. And my dad was like, no, you're not going to put this on your wall. Like, this is something that like teenage boys like put on their wall. And he was all saying, this is basically idol worship to put this like up on your wall. And I know, I was like, what? And it wasn't, I don't remember the poster. It doesn't seem like it was risque or anything, but I think my sister was just trying to start being like a teenager. So she wanted to put it up on the wall. I don't even think she really knew who it was. I just kind of thought, wait, putting that up on the wall is considered idol worship. And I kind of looked at my room covered in SpongeBob. and I felt icky. And I took all of it down. And so I don't think it was idol worship, but it hit me really weird that my dad would say that. I don't know if he regrets saying that, because then he kind of looks over my room and sees SpongeBob everywhere. And it's like, am I worshiping SpongeBob? What's going on here?
$10 says he doesn't regret it because parents.
Wait, hold up. What? Don't be talking about my dad like you know him. All right, go ahead and continue though. I'll let you finish.
From my dad experience, they don't care. They just think that their opinions are the most important and they are next to God and they're never wrong. And my dad ruined stuff for me too. I had to throw away my Animorph books that I bought with my own money. Oh, I want those books back, dang it.
Me and my sister read Animorph books too. My sister more than me, but she really loved them. I'm going to be completely honest. I think he does regret it because he was on board with the, I remember in your last video that I watched, the demonic scare, like, oh, everything is actually like demonic. Like there was the whole Pokemon thing with, oh, Pokemon is actually demonic. Harry Potter is demonic. And I think my dad was kind of like on the edge of like, is this stupid or is there a point to this? Because he didn't like Harry Potter books, but he let my sister read them. I would have read them, but they were very thick books and I was scared of big books. And he was like for a hot second on the Pokemon is demonic thing. And not a month later, we all have our own Pokemon decks playing in the living room for game night. So I think he probably does have a sense of like regret of like saying that was idol worship. I think it was most along the lines of that he wanted to be careful about who my sister decided to look up to. And like teen idol pop stars aren't the best role models as much as, you know, the media would like to portray them to be. Yeah, but I'm still a huge SpongeBob fan.
It just makes me so sad when parents ruin stuff for kids.
Yeah.
Did you throw your collection away or did you just put it into a box?
I lost it gradually over time. So, I mean, I didn't throw it all away. The only thing I threw away were the posters and paper on my wall. But like I kept toys, I kept my bed sheets. I just didn't have them so prominently like displayed everywhere. I have a crying child. I'm going to go take care of her and I'll be right back. Okay, where were we?
Parents ruining stuff. Oh,
yeah. We got to go on that rabbit trail because I got a lot of stories for that.
we as you wish.
Let's go ahead and stick with like our childhood.
Yeah.
I do have a question. Was there anything you did as a child that you look back on now and at the time you thought was completely normal, but you realize like, should I have done that? I just realized I have two stories and I don't know if I should tell one of them.
Go ahead, because maybe you'll trigger some idea in my brain.
Okay, so when I had to have been 5 or 6 years old because of where I lived at the time. I would go outside to play, and of course my parents would always tell me, "Oh, like stay in front of the apartments, like don't like venture out." I ventured out. I walked all around the apartment complex, and anytime I found a bike that wasn't nailed to the ground, I didn't think twice. I would just pick it up and I would ride, and then I would just leave it wherever. I don't know what part of me thought that it was okay to steal bikes, but I wanted to learn how to ride and I didn't have one. And then one day I got caught and it kind of like scared me from doing it again. But then after a while I went to try to do it again, but I just couldn't find any bikes. And then I looked back at my life and I realized I was a bike thief. Why did I do that?
Oh boy. I would like give hugs to random strangers at grocery stores.
Okay. How old were you though? Because like age range, maybe 2 to 4, that could be cute. Any older than 4, it's a little weird.
It was probably about that. I was an entertaining kid that would sing and dance for people. And
so I have another story, and it might cost me being able to monetize this video on YouTube. So I'll probably have to.
Oh, you are actually monetized.
I am monetized. You're able to be monetized after you have 1,000 subscribers. I
1,000
made a
subs, 4,000 watch hours. I know.
okay. Yeah, you're probably like watching it like, well, I'm almost there. Like I was too for a while. No, not close. Oh
I
man,
am
but your
not
stuff is like so much better than mine. The only reason I got my stupid subscriber count is because of PewDiePie.
Well, it's still a little ways off for me, but I maybe eventually I'll get there.
I'm sure you will. You got good stuff. You actually have good, engaging, thoughtful, intelligent content, and I have whatever I have. I'm just trying to have fun and make stuff that I want to. I didn't know that this would happen. But
so what might get this video unmonetized?
I was accidentally the R word. I think I was in first grade, and I was just going about my life, and then one day when I was older, I thought about that memory, and it goes, oh, that was bad. That was bad. So here's the story. I'm in the lunch line, and I go to sit down and eat my lunch, and I'm sitting next to this little African American boy. And we're just eating lunch, blah, blah, nothing's really happening. And he looks over at me and says, hey, can I have your cookie? And instead of being a normal human being and saying, no, I want my cookie, I'm going to eat it, I try to come up with a different reason, just an off the top of my head cuff, random reason about why I don't want this kid to have my cookie, other than I just want to eat it. And I say the dumbest thing in the world. I say, no, I don't want you to have this cookie because I don't like a particular color. I don't know why I said that, but at the time I was 5 or 6. I had no concept of the R word. And so the little boy obviously goes and tells a teacher and then comes back to me. And I don't know why I'm getting in so much trouble. And then it happens, and then it kind of goes away, and then I get older, and then I look back at that memory, and I'm like, oh, that was bad. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. And now I want to find this person that I did that to and apologize. If you were out there watching, there's some happenstance in the universe. I am so sorry. I don't know. So there's that story. I've been wanting to tell that story for a while. I don't know if YouTube is the best place to tell that story, because I didn't feel like I had any kind of R-word influence in my life at that time, like at all. In fact, unless it was like very subconscious, maybe from my grandparents. But I look back and I cringe at my
I remember one time I was at a store with my parents, and I was like, this colored doll goes with this colored people, and this colored doll goes with that colored people. And they were like, Katie, that's our word. I'm like, what? Because that's all that we saw in the commercials.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of just assumed that it was some kind of rule.
Like commercials, they're the rules. All right, so let's go back to Happy and try and what was your favorite outdoor activity as a child, like growing up in the 90s?
Riding my bike, feeling all cool. There were 2 hills, 2 cul-de-sac kind of hills, like right next to each other. So I would go up one hill, push myself up one hill, and then glide down it and ride up the next one as well, almost all the way up. And I'd love to ride roller skates and play in the sprinklers and play in the wading pool. Those ones that cracked every year when you left them outside.
Oh yeah.
When the frost came, and taking my Barbie dolls and swinging their hair under the water. I actually wrote a poem about summer like that got published in my school's book.
Oh really? Do you remember what it is?
Yeah, I actually have it right here.
Oh nice, let's hear it.
I do. Here. It was the first year the book was hardback.
Oh nice.
ASMR. Let's see, what page am I on? There I am. Page 12. A splash in time. I threw the water up in the air with buckets, watching the drops scattering beauty. I imitated a shower with the sprinklers, startling Barbie and her friends who relaxed in their massive spa. I gathered my courage to dunk in the frigid water. I took them down with me, waving by their feet, their hair a supple ballet. I warmed myself on the dirty sidewalks, felt the ants and potato bugs tickle, till I was too hot to not run again. I admired the wet splotches I made. I touched my special rock embedded on our porch, my laughing summers.
Dude, that's really good. How old were you when you wrote that?
Maybe like 16, 17.
So when in fourth grade, I know our classes, we're supposed to write our own books to put in the library. And I basically wrote Frosty the Snowman, but instead of a snowman, I made it a snow dog. So it wasn't that creative.
I wrote my very first poem that I can remember when I was like 7. And my dad was actually impressed by it. And it was like my tiny little ego that didn't get much stroking because my parents didn't really believe in giving too much like encouragement. They never really told me I was pretty or anything. Maybe like if we got specially dressed up for Easter. So I would take what I could get. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think my dad was a little bit too heavy on the corrective criticism because I felt like every time I showed him something, that's really all I got. And I was all like, can you just say that I do good at something for once? Can you just say the thing that I give you is good right then? Like, I know you want me to do better, but at some point, can you say I've done the better? And yeah, so I think that's hurt my self-esteem just a little tiny bit.
Yeah.
Are we the same person? I'm just kidding.
Writing was something that my dad would give me positive feedback about. And I remember being so proud when he talked to other people about it, like, wow, she's so young and she already understands these kind of concepts. I don't even think kids this age usually understand. Mm-hmm. So my very first poem when I was 7 was very short. It's this: time flies, look at the birds fly. Children grow and parents know it's time to lift their wings.
That's really good. Okay. All right. So we started with favorite outdoor activity and we ended in poetry. Okay. So I'm trying to keep my brain on track here. My favorite outdoor activity. I did sports. So I did cross country and stuff like that, but that wasn't until later, until like high school. But as a kid, we either lived in an apartment or we lived out in the country somewhere. And so when we lived out in the country, I'd like to just go running around outside and have, adventures, like quote unquote. And I always wanted like my sister or my brother to come accompany me in these adventures, but they never wanted to. So I had to go off and by myself. And have you ever, this is going to seem like a tangent, but this is important. Have you ever read Calvin and Hobbes?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so there is a part of Calvin and Hobbes where Calvin has a flag and he has to run through this like brush type, like country obstacle course where it's not like a built obstacle course. It's just like he's got to run through all the bramble and go get another flag, replace his flag with the other flag. And then he takes the new flag and he like goes through all the bramble again and then takes it back to Hobbes. And I was like, that's really cool. I want to do an outside, obstacle course type thing, but I need another person. So I tried to get my sister involved. She didn't want to do it. Tried to get my brother involved. He didn't want to do it. So I tied a sock to a chopstick and that was my flag. And then I tried to go, and I was probably like 11. I don't know. I tried to go do this obstacle course by myself, just kind of like running around outside. And then as I look back and that's comic strip of Calvin doing that, he was actually doing that whole thing by himself because Hobbes is a stuffed tiger. And so I feel like I actually emulated the game that he was playing actually pretty well. Because I was pretending I was doing it with imaginary people. I just didn't have a stuffed animal with me. But I actually thought that was actually fun. I loved going outside whenever we had like a big country area. This one time I got stuck in a tree upside down So that was an experience. I was climbing up the tree and I had this weird idea that I was going to climb to the very top of the tree, like the top, the part of the tree that can't hold my weight. I don't know why I thought I was going to be able to climb up there, but I started climbing out, like you do when you climb a tree. And I was going to jump out of the tree. And it wasn't that far of a jump, but it was, it was up pretty high. I would say maybe, I don't know. How high is a door frame? Like 7 feet? Maybe like 7 feet high, maybe a little higher. I want to try and jump out of the tree, but then I lose my nerve and I stop, but then I fall and my foot gets caught by one of the little wedges in the tree. And I'm stuck there hanging upside down. And I could see my house. It's right in front of me. So I start shouting for help and nobody comes because my mom and my siblings went into town. And so my dad is in the house and I'm yelling for him to help me. Eventually, I just loosened my shoe and I kind of like fall-ish, grab branch, drop to the ground. And then I go inside and I was like, didn't you hear me screaming for help? And then my dad was all like, oh, I thought you were outside playing with your brother and sister. And it's like, they're not here. Do you realize I could have been dying? Oh my gosh. And I was really mad at him. But that's a story.
Wow.
We look back at it and laugh now, but so any school stories?
Well, one time when I was 13, I was going to a Christian school, a Lutheran school. Mm-hmm. It was it was all public school up to seventh and just seventh and eighth grade. I went to a private school, and from one day to the next, my teacher didn't show up. She had resigned without saying goodbye, without putting in 2 weeks notice. She just had quit, and her son was one of my best friends. Like I was in a group. Before that, I was scared of boys and like ran anytime any boy was around. But when I went to this school, I started actually only having friends that were boys. I didn't have any friends that were girls. It was devastating for me because I really loved her. I thought she was such a neat person, and her family had been in India until they came here. And I really wanted to make her proud in everything I did. And so other kids were joking about it and talking about how, oh yeah, they saw this coming. And they knew that there would been unrest in relationships. But I was completely blindsided and I was just sobbing into my desk.
Did you ever find out why she left?
No, not really. I'm like not being content with how things were handled at the school. I didn't know. But even like as an adult, like seeing her randomly like at this prayer meeting for like different churches to go to, I still had these same feelings of don't make eye contact, don't talk to her.
Oh. Okay, so I want to keep talking about this, but I'm looking at the time. It looks like we should go ahead and go on to our next segment. And again, we can always talk about our childhood at some point in other podcasts. I'm pretty sure it will come up, especially talking about, deconstructing our faith that we learned growing up. I'm sure that there are childhood memories that we can revisit.
I guess you'll have to re-record that intro. It was supposed to be all this lighthearted stuff, but it all turned into much heavier.
Oh my gosh, you're right. Oh, I guess there was some lighthearted stuff. I mean, think about the lobster.
Yeah, but I guess that's just, you can't decide in the beginning of a thing how it's going to go because it's just going to flow and evolve how it does.
Yeah. Okay, so we can get to the next segment, which is our book, which is Saving the Bible from Ourselves. And I have put I just lost my place where I was trying to hold it. Okay, I found it. And I've put quite a dent in reading it. I'm almost halfway through it. And the excerpt that I would like to read is about our snacking Bible. So I'm going to give a basic idea so I don't have to read this entire chapter. Basically, our snacking Bible is the fact that we have taken the Bible, we've chopped it up, we've cut it into paragraphs where they're not actually supposed to be. We put all the verses in there, and we made it where we can go in there and we can pick out our favorite verse of encouragement, and we can snack on our encouragement in the Bible instead of reading it in its full context, in its full, biblical literature writing, and we've turned it into little excerpts of snacking. From Justification to Prophecy and Piety, A Short History of Snacking. Small readings. They were the inevitable result of the formatting innovation of the modern Bible. The new form positively demanded to be read and used in a particular way. Historian David Norton says of the early modern period, the presentation of the text is broken up, the literary reading effectively discouraged. Moreover, a specific kind of religious reading is encouraged, fragmentary study. Jaroslav Pelikan describes how the heaping up of the proof text became the standard method of verifying the scriptural character of a teaching about doctrine or life. And indeed, dueling over doctrine was a chief purpose of the innovation in the first place. It wasn't an accident that the production of the Geneva Bible was overseen by an exiled English reformer, William Whittingham. It was Whittingham with some dueling on his to-do list who seized on Edstein's scholarly reference tool format, numbered verses that were first added to the Greek New Testament, and said, "Now that's the kind of Bible I need. Proof." Proof texting was born. Whittingham and the divines could fire off one-liners on justification from Romans and Galatians like cannons of right interpretation, obliterating the ecclesiastical opposition. But others would come to realize all the possibilities of a Bible like this. If the Bible is filled with these little pieces of spiritual truth, then finding the right ones for arguing with Catholics is only the beginning. Doctrinal debates was only the first step. The theologians picked up on the practice, and the newly parsed text became the basis for developing systematic theologies. One of the heirs of Reformed Orthodoxy, Charles Hodge of Princeton Seminary, could explain in 1873 how the theological task is rooted in using the Bible in a particular way. The Bible is to the theologian what nature is to the man of science. It is his storehouse of facts, and his method of ascertaining what the Bible teaches is the same as that which the natural philosopher adopts to ascertain what nature teaches. The duty of the Christian theologian is to ascertain, collect, and combine all the facts which God has revealed concerning himself and our relation to him. The facts are all in the Bible. There should be no question as to the degree Hodge's comment depending on a form of the Bible already broken down in fact-sized pieces. A Bible divided into chapters and verses is perfectly ripe for this particular type of analysis. The modernist form served up a Bible fully prepared for proper modernist dissection, and thus the cutting commenced. So it says, and thus the cutting commenced. So thus people started picking and choosing parts of the Bible that they liked, and they got everything that they needed to wrap up their own theology in a nice little bow, and they stopped reading the Bible in its fullness.
They made it so that there's nothing mystical, and like in the early church and like the Jewish reading of the Torah and stuff was never literalistic. It was always like these are stories that you can come out from so many different angles and have 4 or 5 or 6 interpretations. To only look at things from this has to be exactly straightforward what it says strips the mystical nature of God and the allowing the book to actually breathe.
Yes. So another thing that I believe I either read in this or it's somewhere else because I'm reading like 20 things at the same time right now. Everybody, the Bible, they want it to be completely true or it's not true at all. And there's this dualistic part of the Bible where it is divine and it is human. And people want to ignore the human aspect and make it completely divine. But when you ignore the human aspect, you ignore the context, you ignore the culture, you ignore the reason for the writing to be, when divine and human need to be together as one, the same as Jesus was both God and man. So does that make sense?
Totally, I'm with you.
And we have been ignoring the human part of the Bible and have elevated up like to just completely divine. And it is divine, but it's also human, and you can't ignore one half of the whole.
Yeah, genuinely, I believe that a lot of people who call themselves Christians have made the Bible into too much of an idol.
Yes, absolutely. I have an opinion that I kind of came to, and maybe it's true, but I don't think the Bible teaches you doesn't teach you what to do with every single problem of your life. Okay. There's no way it can be filled with that many scenarios or variables. What the Bible does is it tells you the story of God redeeming his people. And if you are one of those redeemed people, it is a teacher of the attitude that you are supposed to emulate as a follower of Christ. And in that attitude, there's an inward changing of your inward man to the outside that you know will know how to handle certain situations. Not that you will be given every single rule that will dictate how you handle those situations, but you have the Holy Spirit guiding you in the attitude that you emulate through Jesus. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. I had actually got to have a conversation for my YouTube channel with Shane Claiborne just the other day.
That's a really cool last name. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
He was talking about how in reading the Bible, he uses Jesus as the filter. Mm-hmm. That does this bring me closer to loving people? Like the theology is much simpler. It's loving people. I wrote this down. How our faith needs to manifest in committing our lives to love. It was really great that he gave me this encouragement about deconstruction in itself not being a bad thing, because there's bad theology that has to be cast off.
I was so worried at first. Because I was like, deconstructing, are you getting rid of your faith? But then I realized, no, it's thinking, that's pruning the garden, that's getting rid of dead branches. And so I now I understand that it's not a bad thing. Doubting is not a bad thing. That's how you discern what is good and what is not. And the fact that with the same crowd that's making the Bible 100% literal and taking out context of culture and the history they were living in, they've taken out so much love, and so much compassion, and it's really, really devastating. They demonize deconstruction, but we were also meant to use our brains. We were not having faith like a child. Do children just accept everything? No, they say why all the time. And even scripture says, don't stay a child. Don't drink milk your entire life. Learn to eat meat. And sometimes meat is tough. All right, I'm looking at the clock here, and we should probably be wrapping it up. Hey, why don't you go ahead and plug a channel that you might want people to go to? Any channel or my channel? Well, I was saying any channel, but I was specifically giving you an opportunity to, promote yourself. Oh, okay, cool. So I've been having amazing conversations with all kinds of creative people, YouTubers, and now I'm talking to musicians and actors and models and people that are helping me along with my deconstruction to reconstruction process. So it's been really, really exciting. Also, if you watched our last episode, I am an LGBTQA plus ally, and I have a video on my channel about how the Bible isn't actually anti-queer, and I really welcome discussions and community of people who are searching and who want to get outside of the comfort zone and dare to ask these tough questions, just like me and Gravity are doing. All right, so go check out Kate's channel. It's called Epic Kate. Mm-hmm. All right. If you search that, you'll find it. I'll be the first one that shows up. So I got a question though. What is the little icon that you have? Because it looks like a little pig snout. Well, for my more lighthearted videos, I haven't done any super lighthearted in a while, and I haven't wanted to scare my special guests away. But I have ended my videos doing this. Nostrils of death. Okay. It is a nostril. It's a nostril of death. Okay. I guess I've watched a lot of your conversation videos. I guess I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, I was ending it with some, but then I was like, it doesn't make much sense to end it on conversations that are more serious.
Well, why don't we go ahead and why don't we go ahead and have that be the ending of this video, since it was supposed to be a more lighthearted video anyway.
Okay, so I'll coach you through it.
I'm doing it too. Okay.
Yes, of course you are. So you tilt your head back.
Okay.
But you have to do it dramatically, not like this. Like. And then you edge yourself nose first into the camera.
Okay. Okay. Nostrils of okay, I'm sorry.
Nailed it.
All right, thank you everybody so much for watching. We'll have another video up next week, and we'll probably try to do this every week.
If you actually watched it this far, please comment nostrils of death below.
Yes, if you've watched this far, please comment nostrils of death below. All right, thank you everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.